Welcome back, viewers. As the excitement builds for the ICC Women's T20 World Cup, India is all set to kick off their campaign against New Zealand at the Dubai International Cricket Stadium. In fact, New Zealand has now won the toss. They have decided to bat first, and the stakes are high for Harman Kaur's team, who aim to replicate the success of the men's squad, who made the nation proud by winning the T20 World Cup earlier this year. In fact, India will be hoping to make the most of the Dubai pitch, which promises to be a balanced challenge for both the batters and the bowlers. But with the dew expected later in the evening, the toss could also play a vital role. There will also, of course, be the added pressure of starting the tournament on a high. All right, joining us right now on the broadcast is Vedam Jaishankar, who's a sports journalist, and Joseph Hoover, who's a cricket writer. And shortly, we'll also be joined by Poonam Khemnar, who's a Indian women's cricketer. She's played for the UP Warriors as well as the Royal Challengers Bengaluru. All right, Vedam, I'll start with you now. This is, of course, a very exciting time for the Indian cricket fans. Do you believe that this Indian women's team has the pedigree to repeat what Rohit's men did earlier this year?
Good evening. Yeah, absolutely. Because they have everything. You know, this is a very, very experienced Indian women's team. Some of them, at least, have been playing both the Big Bash, the 100, and of course the Women's Premier League. So I think they are very well experienced in this format of the game, and they are a good all-round side. Of course, the challenge will come from Australia because the Australians have really been doing excellently for the last few years, and they are the team to beat, really. But if you take individually, I think India has quite a few outstanding cricketers in Smriti Mandhana, the captain, Harmanpreet Kaur, of course, Shefali Vaidya, if she gets going, Shefali Verma, I beg your pardon, if she gets going, she can really set the stage on fire. And of course, there is Jemima Rodrigues and Dipti Sharma. I shouldn't forget Dipti Sharma, who is an outstanding all-rounder. So all in all, I think this is a very good Indian attack. The bowling is good, the batting is outstanding, and they also have some excellent fielders. So I think we are on top of the game, especially against New Zealand. We should be able to put it across them, because except for Sophie Devine and Susie Bates and maybe Amelia Kerr, this New Zealand side is not too great a side.
Absolutely. Joseph, I just had a look at the toss there. New Zealand has won the toss and they've decided to bat first, which is, again, a very surprising decision there, given the fact that there's a lot of dew expected later on in the game as well. So what do you think is the logic behind New Zealand choosing to bat first? Because, again, at the end of the day, for their spinners, especially in the Dubai Stadium, it's going to be very difficult later on in the day.
No, it's always good to have runs on the board and then set the target, for the opponents. And the way I look at it is they just want to use make first use of the wicket, set the target, and put pressure on the Indian team. And we can't write off New Zealand because if you remember, they've also been runner-up in this World Cup twice. So we just can't write them off. We have a good side. We have a very balanced side. And especially the number of spinners that we have quality spinners who will come into play during this tournament. And we should also understand the conditions in Dubai is not as good as it should be for playing cricket. It's going to be pretty hot and the wicket could even break. So this is something that they're also hoping that, and they make first use of the wicket and allow the sun to get at it, break the wicket a little, and then put the Indian batters on the pressure. But looking at it overall, way I look at it, I'm so happy for the Indian team. Today we are talking big about them. Because I was one of the few journalists who covered Indian cricket, women's cricket for a very, very long time. I always try to do something for them. Today, when the whole country is looking forward to the match against New Zealand, it makes me feel good. I said all the efforts. And today, if our Indian women are doing so well in cricket, hats off to them because they've gone through a lot of pressure. They were neglected. They were vulnerable to a lot of events. So they've come out of all that, and today the BCCI has given them all these facilities. It's
absolutely.
Because of all
so
the hard
clearly,
work,
Joseph, like you're rightly saying, the women's cricket in India has come a long way, and BCCI, like you pointed out, also has a major role to play. We are looking at pay parity and all those other facilities that are also being doled out to women's cricketer, and also one of the biggest a facility or one of the biggest things that's happened to women's cricket in India is the WPL. And joining us right now also is Poonam Khemnar, who's played for the Royal Challengers Bangalore as well as the UP Warriors in the Women's Premier League. Poonam, you've seen how cricket has grown in India. How do you think the exposure of the WPL, because the best players, the best women's players from across the world have arrived in India to play the WPL. So how much do you think that exposure has helped women's cricket in India?
डेफिनेटली मुझे लगता है कि जैसे कि अभी WPL स्टार्ट हुआ है पिछले साल से, तो अभी नए-नए प्लेयर आपको WPL एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म बन चुका है जो आगे आके इंडिया को एक अच्छे प्लेयर्स मिल रहे हैं। और जैसे कि अच्छे प्लेयर्स मिल रहे हैं तो इंडिया के लिए एक अच्छी टीम बनाना बहुत ईज़ी हो गया है। तो आने वाले अपकमिंग प्लेयर्स के लिए भी मुझे लगता है कि एक बहुत बड़ा प्लेटफॉर्म है और वहाँ जाके उन्हें जो ओवरसीज़ प्लेयर के साथ जो ड्रेसिंग रूम शेयर करने को मिल रहा है, अपने इंडियन प्लेयर जो अच्छे लेवल पे भी खेल रहे हैं, तो उनके साथ मुझे लगता है कि जितना भी हम लोग ड्रेसिंग रूम शेयर कर रहे हैं, मैचेस खेल रहे हैं, एक बड़ा प्लेटफॉर्म, बड़े मैचेस खेल रहे हैं, तो वो जो प्रेशर है, वो प्रेशर सिचुएशन है, जो भी एक्सपीरियंस है, मुझे लगता है कि वो जितना हम साथ में खेलेंगे, उतना हम ज़्यादा ग्रो करेंगे और उसके साथ ही इंडिया के लिए अच्छा सर्व कर सकते हैं।
पूनम, आपने बहुत सारे प्लेयर्स के साथ खेला. यू प्लेड विद अ लॉट ऑफ इंटरनेशनल सुपरस्टार्स इन द WPL. यू प्लेड विद देम, यू प्लेड अगेंस्ट देम. Which team do you think is the toughest? Which team do you think is the favorite to win this World Cup, apart from India?
डेफिनेटली मैं इंडिया के साथ रहूंगी, लेकिन अगर अपार्ट फ्रॉम इंडिया अगर मैं देखूँ तो मैं ऑस्ट्रेलिया मुझे एक टफेस्ट साइड लग रही है इस टूर्नामेंट में। और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बाद मैं इंडिया और उसके बाद मैं देना चाहूंगी कि साउथ अफ्रीका मुझे एक लग रहा है, इंग्लैंड एंड साउथ अफ्रीका द बेस्ट। बट द फर्स्ट टीम इज ऑस्ट्रेलिया, जो मुझे लग रहा है इंडिया के बाद की जो वर्ल्ड कप के प्रबल दावेदार बन सकते।
Absolutely. Indian fans watching right now would be hoping that there's no repeat of the India versus Australia final, at least in this T20 World Cup, because we've seen enough of India and Australia finals, and I don't think Indian fans have the pedigree now to watch any more of it. Vedam, I'll come back to you. You were talking about the conditions there in Dubai this time. Pitches in Dubai are very similar to the subcontinent. We've seen how Bangladesh and Pakistan have also started their campaign on a high. Do you think this will also add to India's favor, the fact that the conditions will be closer to India's subcontinent pitches than for other teams, like, for example, England or Australia?
We take one match at a time. Let's take today's match, New Zealand. New Zealand definitely won't be used to playing under such conditions. They're coming out of a winter and straight away they have to play in hot conditions in Dubai. That apart, the evening game, especially when the ball gets wet, and it's very difficult to bowl under dew. And they have a good bowler in that. I think her name is Tahu. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She's quick, but we'll.
All right, we seem to have lost the line there with Vedam Jaishankar, but meanwhile, Joseph also continues to be on the broadcast with us. Joseph, we are talking about the pitch there in Dubai. It's going to be very closer to what we see in the subcontinent. We've already seen how teams like Bangladesh and Pakistan, which a lot of people did not expect them to have a really good start, they've also had a very good start to the tournament. So do you think this is also going to play in India's favor, the fact that the pitches won't be as alien as, for example, say, Australia or England?
Yeah, being closer Rome is definitely going to be an advantage. As Vedam was saying, people from Australia or New Zealand or England, they're going to find it tough here because the conditions are pretty hot. And also we'll have to consider the kind of the team formation that we have, the kind of the combination. We have a lot of spinners, and the team management and the selectors have really thought about it, like how they did in the T20 World Cup in the US and West Indies, men's T20. They've really taken the team. You know, it's like the horses for courses kind of a situation where they pick the right team and they know what can be expected in Dubai, especially when the conditions are pretty hot. And India definitely have played in these conditions and they've prepared well, and they have a fantastic coach in Aman Mazumdar who can bring out the best among the girls, because he's somebody who has been on top of the game throughout his career. And the way he's gelled around with this team, that is going to definitely bring in wonders, like how Rahul Dravid did with the T20 men's team. So if you look at it, there's a good combination, and they're prepared for this kind of event, and they're determined. That is more important. The body language, the confidence levels, and all are much bigger. Definitely, the WPL has given them that kind of a momentum because they're playing with the international cricketers here, so they know what can be expected from the different kind of players that they're going to encounter. So they're going to be up for the challenge. But as you talked about the weather, it's definitely in our advantage, especially having been in these kind of conditions before. We have also baked in India. I mean, we have had extreme events, extreme weather conditions. It's hot and humid. So we're going to be better prepared for that. And I think the conditions that we are going to play, it's going to be tough for Australia and India. I would put them on top of the thing, saying that they should win this championship for the first time. They should come back triumphant.
Absolutely. Poonam, coming back to you now, we were talking about the pitches in Dubai, which of course is going to help spinners a lot more. I believe you're a leg break bowler yourself. So how do you rate India's spin attack in this tournament? Because India has really good spinners, but again, so does a team like Bangladesh and Pakistan and Sri Lanka. So a lot of tough competition. How do you rate India's spin attack?
हाँ, डेफिनेटली मुझे लगता है कि हमारा स्पिन अटैक अभी बहुत अच्छा हो चुका है। जैसे कि आने वाले बहुत अच्छे प्लेयर अभी ऐड हो चुके हैं टीम इंडिया के साथ। एक अच्छा लेग स्पिनर ऐड हो चुका है, आशा शोभना, और बोल सकते हैं दीप्ति शर्मा, श्रेयंका पाटिल। अभी इससे आने वाले मौके में मुझे लगता है कि बहुत हेल्पफुल रहेगा टीम इंडिया के लिए। और विकेट के नज़रिए से देखा जाए तो विकेट थोड़ा-सा मुझे लगता है कि बाद में स्पिनर के लिए बहुत यूज़ होगा। तो इन स्पिनर्स को मुझे लगता है बहुत ज़्यादा हेल्प मिलेगी, और विकेट टेकिंग ऑप्शंस हमारे पास बहुत ज़्यादा अवेलेबल है। तो डेफिनेटली इस पे ज़्यादा वर्क कर सकता है।
Also, Poonam, batting की बात कर ले थोड़ी बहुत, तो who do you think will be the standout batsman for India? Because there's a lot of chatter about Harman Preet's batting position. She'll be batting at number 3. People say there's also a lot of inconsistency also that's coming into the picture. Again, we're talking about Smriti Mandhana also here, Shafali Verma. So, what do you think is going to be the key factor for India's batting in this tournament?
मुझे लगता है यार, अभी तो फिलहाल के लिए अपना ओपनिंग स्लॉट तो ऑलमोस्ट फिक्स्ड है। तो स्मृति एंड शेफाली ओपन करेंगे। उसके बाद अभी भी हम इंडिया स्लॉट के लिए नंबर 3 के लिए देख रहे हैं। तो वहाँ पे शायद मुझे लगता है कि हरमन या फिर जेमिमा वहाँ पे आके थोड़ा-सा अर्ली स्टार्ट थोड़ा-सा अच्छा कर सकते हैं, जहाँ पे वो अंडर प्रेशर मुझे लगता है बहुत अच्छा स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं इंडिया के लिए। तो अभी भी वहाँ पे जो नंबर 3 और 4 का स्लॉट है, वो वहाँ पे जमीमा या फिर हरमनप्रीत आके वो एक अच्छा स्टार्ट दे सकती है। तो वहाँ से थोड़ा-सा इंडिया के लिए भी बहुत अच्छा हो सकता है, ले जाने के लिए। एक डीप डेप्थ बैटिंग भी है अपने पास। उसके बाद अपनी ऋचा भी आएगी, श्रेयंका भी एक अच्छा बैटिंग स्लॉट दे सकती है। दीप्ति आके एक अच्छा हिटिंग ज़ोन, डब्ल्यूपीएल में भी आपने देखा है कि बहुत अच्छा हिटिंग ज़ोन दे रही है। तो ऑफ कोर्स एक 3 और 4 नंबर एक टीम इंडिया के लिए बहुत लंबे समय से एक प्रॉब्लम रहा है। लेकिन जमीमा और हरमन के आने से मुझे लगता है कि वहाँ पे थोड़ा-सा वो जो स्टेबल ज़ोन है, वो थोड़ा-सा क्रिएट हो रहा है। बट उसके बाद जो डेप्थ ज़ोन है, जो ऋचा और दीप्ति, वो श्रेयंका, ये लोग थोड़ा-सा पुट अप कर सकते हैं अच्छे से। और वहाँ पे एक अच्छा स्कोर अगेंस्ट किसी भी टीम के अगेंस्ट, मुझे जो अभी जो बैटिंग लाइनअप लग रही है ऑलराउंडर्स की, बहुत ज़्यादा यहाँ पे अपनी टीम में यहाँ पे अच्छे से पॉइंट अप हो चुका है। तो ऑफ कोर्स एक अच्छा डेप्थ भी है, और अच्छा एक मिडल ऑर्डर होने के बाद डेफिनिटली हम लोग एक अच्छा स्कोर पुट कर सकते हैं टीम के सामने, और एक अच्छा टोटल सामने रख सकते हैं।
Absolutely. Besides being a spinner, you're a pretty good batter yourself. So I'm sure you'll be looking forward to filling that spot in the future. But really appreciate you joining us.